What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down how wide receivers can run their routes versus every single type of DB coverage, okay? So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it can teach you a few new things, but also, fellas, if you are a wide receiver and you struggle to know what you should do in the offseason while you're in the gym, while you're on the field to work on your route running, check out that very first link in the description below for our ultimate 8-week wide receiver workout plan. This is a daily schedule that you can follow with the exact sets and reps with all the gym exercises wide receivers should do and on-field drills you should do. We give you an example of each exercise and drill with sets and reps, like I said, all mapped out in a daily schedule. So check out that very first link below if you're interested, fellas. Let's get started with this video. So now, first things first here, how this video is going to go down. I'm going to showcase every single type of DB coverage, and we're going to be talking about how to run each specific route against this coverage. So if you need to take notes, this is going to be kind of a tell-all on what you should be thinking off the line of scrimmage. So again, hope this helps. I know a lot of you have been asking for this. So the first look we are going to be going over here is head up off man coverage. So we talk a lot about on this page inside leverage, outside leverage, but if you have head up coverage, how do you run a route against that? Maybe you know how to run it against inside shade, outside shade. What do you do when he is directly in front of you about 8 to 10 yards? So you guys honestly want to think of your routes not like by names of route, not about post route, dig route, curl route, out route, corner route, comeback. You want to think of it like inside breaking versus outside breaking, because most of the time that's how you would structure it. The break might change, but the way you run the route stays the same. So let's watch what A.J. Brown does here. Number one thing when you got head-up coverage, you got to step on the DB's toes. I'm sure some of you have probably heard that phrase before. Some of you have probably heard the phrase, you want to close the distance with the DB. That is always what you want to do. So if he is head up and he is right in front of you, your main goal, whether you're running a post, a dig, whether you're running an out route, whether you're running a corner route, is I want to make him uncomfortable. I want to close the space with him. I want to try to step on his toes because that is what's going to put him on the defensive. So now when I close the space, you see how A.J. Brown does this here. He's attacking right at the center of his body. They call that the midline. Step on his toes. And now from a DB perspective, the reason why we say this is because that makes him super uncomfortable. If you do what you need to do in terms of selling fade, if you run hard, if you maintain your stride, if you keep a good pad level position with your upper body, all of those things are going to make a DB think, oh, that's a fade. Maybe I should start to backpedal. Maybe I even turn and run. And that is what can get you separation and get you open. So you see how Brown works this like kind of rocker step cut, and he's able to run a post. You could do the exact same thing on an out route. He could make this hard cut to the inside, try to get the DB to hesitate and run the out route, run a corner route. But when it is head up off man, let's make sure that we close the distance and step on that DB's toes. So then I'm going to play this again full speed one more time, and then we are going to get to the next example of off man coverage. Great job there by A.J. Brown, stepping on the toes and creating space. Okay, so this is Cooper Kupp. We have outside shade, off man coverage. This probably could honestly be zone coverage, but you would treat it the exact same way. Off man zone, not off man zone coverage, like off zone coverage or off man coverage. If they're both outside leverage, you would do it the exact same way. Nothing changes, okay, fellas? So outside leverage, zone coverage, let's say. And he is going to be running a 10-yard out. So anytime that you have an outside breaking route, let's say it's an out route, let's say it's a corner route, let's say it's a comeback route, what you would want to do is attack this DB's inside hip and his inside shoulder, where you're trying to flip his hips and make him think that it is a fade. So let's watch what Cooper Kupp does here. He comes off the ball, he's attacking with good speed, gives this rocker step move, and then is giving that quarterback space to throw him open. The mistake that a lot of guys will make against this specific look when they are running an outside route, because anytime that you have off man or anytime that you have zone more specifically, people talk a lot about the blind spot of a DB. The blind spot of the DB is this area behind him where he cannot see. And also that is his leverage, right? So when a DB is lined up outside shade or when he's lined up inside shade, that tells you something as a wide receiver. When I come up to the line, he's outside leverage. That tells me that he is trying to protect the outside. He does not want me to run an out route or a corner route. He's lined up inside leverage, which is what we're going to talk about in a second. He does not want me to run a post or a dig or a curl. He wants to force everything to his help. So when he's outside leverage, chances are he's got safety help to the inside. When a DB's inside leverage, his help is the sideline. So when we have a route that is to the leverage, an out route when the DB is outside leverage, we got to split this DB in half. And what I mean by that is you got to attack his inside shoulder and his inside hip, because the goal is to get him to flip. A lot of guys just try to run. A lot of guys just try to get to that blind spot and then break it off. But remember, if we go to the outside and this DB's outside leverage, what is his responsibility? To protect the outside. So he's going to do something called a weave or keep his leverage. So if we force it and he keeps his leverage, he's going to do something called squeeze me to the sideline. So if I'm running right here, he's going to be right on my hip pocket, forcing me outside. And when you run an out route, you have to give the quarterback space. So when we have an outside breaking route, like that comeback, like a corner, like an out, we need to give my QB space. And I do that by threatening the inside shoulder and the inside hip. We sell to the inside, make it look like a post. Or I could just push vertical, run super hard, get his hips to flip, and I slip underneath. But we have to make sure that we threaten inside shoulder and inside hip when we have a route to the leverage. So let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Cooper Kupp showcasing what you should do with a 10-yard out or a 15-yard out versus outside leverage coverage. So now, let's talk about outside leverage, and I have an inside breaking route. This should be fairly simple for all of us, right? So outside shade, remember, trying to protect the outside. So if I have to run an inside breaking route, remember, what does this DB have to the inside? And fellas, when you can understand one leverage, you'll be able to understand the other leverage. Like I'm explaining outside leverage right now. When we go over inside leverage here in a second, off man, it should be easy. It's just the flip side of things, and I'll explain what that is. So if you have to run a post route versus outside leverage, you got to know this. He's probably got what to the inside? Help. I guarantee he probably has help to the inside. So if I just take off and just go run the post and think, oh, this is a gift, he's giving me the inside, guess what he's going to do? He's probably going to get hands on us and force us right to that safety. And if you got a DB here, this is where you are, and that's where the free safety is. That's a tiny window for that QB. And that is not a quarterback-friendly route. So what do you think you might have to do? Remember, why on an out route did we not want to just try to run to the blind spot and cut? Because he's going to keep his leverage. So maybe if I have an inside breaking route, that's what I should do. I should make it look like I'm just trying to run around him to the outside because he has to honor that leverage. He has to protect that leverage. So let's watch what Justin Jefferson does here. He's running like kind of like a bender route, but you see how he kind of threatens the leverage. He steps to the guy's blind spot. He steps to his front hip because that is what's going to widen him. If he just runs this route and takes off, he's going right into a safety. But because he steps to his leverage, because he threatens him like he's going to run an out route underneath him, that will widen the DB. And that creates a bigger throwing window for the QB to fit that ball into. And that is the name of the game when you have a route that is away from the leverage. A route away from the leverage, we need to create a bigger window. So let's play this full speed one more time. Great job by Jefferson, attacking that leverage, threatening him underneath with that out route to create a bigger throwing window. So now, let's talk about inside shade, off man coverage, right? So we have a DB here, lined up inside shade about 5 yards off. Now, normally if he's just going to sit, we would do something a little bit different here, but he starts to backpedal, right? He starts to kind of keep his leverage to the inside and really play this true off-man look. So if we have to run an outside breaking route versus inside shade off-man, how do you think I would want to play that? I would want to attack his leverage, right? Because again, he's trying to protect the inside now. If I have to run a route, just like the last example with Justin Jefferson, if I have to run a route away from the leverage, this is an outside breaking route versus inside shade coverage. I don't want to just take off and run because what's he going to force you to? His help. But what is his help right now? The sideline, fellas. And again, all of this information that I am talking about, what the DB's responsibility is, what he's trying to do, can all be determined by your pre-snap read. You're not supposed to be thinking about all this during the play. It should be an instinct. It should be a reflex. My favorite comment that I get from people is always, oh, well, you can never think about this stuff during a game. It's like, yeah, no shit. You can't think about this during a game. You have to focus on certain aspects pre-snap. That pre-snap will tell you everything that I'm talking about right now. How is he playing? Where is he lined up? That is what will honestly tell you everything about the route that you're about to run. So this receiver's got to run a corner, right? So he attacks his leverage inside, gives him a move, and then bursts up to that corner route. That's exactly how you want to play that route because that is what's going to hold the DB to the inside and give you more space. Remember, outside breaking route, what do we need? We need spacing and we need room for the QB to throw me open. I can't just go run to the sideline because I ain't never going to get the ball like that, or it's going to be a pick six because that DB will be right on my hip. Let's threaten that leverage. Let's make him go, or let's make him think I'm going where he doesn't want me to go, which is a post, which is a dig, which is a curl, all the spots to his leverage. Because if he gets beat to his leverage, he's going to get chewed out by his DB coach. So let's try to force him there. Let's make him think that I'm going there. So now what would you do if you had to run an inside route? This should be an easy question for you guys. Because remember, outside leverage, like the DB was outside shade and we had to run a 10-yard out. What did you want to do? You want to do attack his inside shoulder, inside hip. Force this DB to open up fade so I could slip under him, right? So now if you have to run a post post route, a dig route, what do you think you want to do? Let's threaten the outside shoulder and the outside hip. Let's attack him. Let's make him think I'm just trying to go run by him and run a fade. So hopefully he'll open and I slip right back underneath him and can win on that dig. That is the exact recipe, fellas, to beat off-man coverage. So let's play this full speed. Great job attacking that leverage from the DB or from the wide receiver and then getting up on that corner route. Now, let's talk a little bit about press coverage here. So press coverage should be a fairly simple process, I feel, for you guys. We should welcome press coverage because I feel press coverage, if you know what to do and you know what to do off the line, it makes it very, very easy to create space because they're testing you with press coverage. They're giving you man-to-man. Our guy's better than your guy. We trust our DB. And as a wide receiver, that's a gift. We don't want zone coverage. We want man coverage because that's how we score touchdowns. We score touchdowns against press man coverage. So when we got a DB who's lined up in head-up press, so we're going to start with head-up, then we're going to go to outside, and then we're going to go to inside, just like what we did with off man. We're going to talk about how to run each specific route versus that. So we have head up press. Big thing about head up press is being able to react because the DB's got to keep some kind of leverage, right? Whether he's head up, he's either got to try to protect the inside or try to protect the outside. So with my release, a lot of times against head up press, I have to be able to react. So I'm trying to give him a move, but if he takes away the move, I got to be able to react. So that's kind of what Watkins does right here. So he does this kind of like kick step move. DB jumps to the outside shade. So I just take the inside release and go run the fade. That's exactly how you want to play it against press coverage. I love doing a release called like a split release against press coverage, where you take your front foot, you step out, you bring your back foot up even with your front foot, and you kind of split their feet, kind of trying to read the DB. Against head-up press, we have to try to gather info on the DB. How is he going to play me? So you see how Watkins comes off the ball, he gives a little hesitation to the outside, but Sherman jumps to his outside leverage. So very similar to when we have outside leverage off man. Just take what he gives us. Take the inside. Don't try to force it. When you have head-up press, it can be very easy to try to predetermine the release that you're going to take. If Watkins came off the ball and he's running a fade, right, and his mindset was, okay, I'm just going to give him this little move and then go take the outside release, no matter what. When Sherman jumps off of that head-up press platform and shades to the outside, he's kind of disguising his leverage here in a way pre-snap, and he jumps to the outside. If we force that outside release, he's going to get hands, and he is going to squeeze me all the way to that sideline. So when it's against press, fellas, you got to be comfortable running any route, unless it's a mandatory outside release with an inside or an outside release. You got to be comfortable with it because that's how you efficiently beat press. The whole purpose of press is so a DB can get hands and disrupt timing with my quarterback. But if I don't let him get hands and I'm able to react on him, I shouldn't have a worry. So let's play this full speed. So remember, jumps to the outside, we put the brakes on and we react. Against head-up press, the releases that you choose, how you run your routes, it's all based off of reaction. So now we got outside shade press, and this wide receiver is going to be running a corner route or even a 10-yard out. It's the same principles apply. So remember, we talked about this in off man. Why would a DB be lined up outside shade? Just because he's 5 yards closer doesn't mean that his leverage responsibilities change. When I'm coming up to the play, and I've said this before, when I'm coming up to the ball, I need to understand how far or how close the DB is and what his leverage is. Those are the two things that tell me what he is trying to do. Yes, DBs are smart. They'll try to disguise it sometimes, and we have to be ready for that as a wide receiver. More often than not, though, it's about what you see pre-snap. So he's outside leverage, right? What's he trying to protect? Trying to protect the outside. I got to run an outside breaking route. So why wouldn't I try to give him a move inside and then take the outside release, even though it's an outside breaking route? Because he will stay patient. His job is to protect the outside. He will keep his leverage and force you all the way to that sideline. No space to run the route. So what you need to do is let's attack his leverage and take what he gives me to the inside. Let's take the inside release and work at the top of the route to get open. And same thing as off-man coverage, fellas. When you understand outside shade, you're going to be able to understand inside shade a lot easier. And we're going to talk about inside shade in a second. So what does he do here? He attacks his leverage, takes the inside release, gives him a move at the top, and you see how much space he gave the QB to throw him open. Rather than being 10 yards over to the right, getting squeezed to the sideline, he gave the QB a lane. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, coach, if I take the inside release, what if I can't restack him to where he is trailing me? What if I'm not faster than him? What if that DB is right on my hip and I can't get over the top of him? Then you got to have a plan. What you could do is you could use that inside hand and put it on the back of his shoulder, the back of his hip, and throw him by and slip underneath him. You still gave the quarterback space, you still gave him room to lead you, and he will adjust. So you either restack or you can throw by when you have a route that is to the leverage versus press coverage. Route to the leverage versus pressed. Make sure that you understand what I just said right there. So let's play this again full speed. Outside leverage press. When you have an outside route, that is exactly how you would run it. So now let's talk about outside shade press with an inside route. Pretty simple, right? DB's trying to protect the outside. I have to run an inside breaking route. So number one mistake the guys will make is that when they don't restack, they take way too wide of an angle inside, allowing the DB time to recover. So off the line, it's the same principle. We want to attack his leverage. We want to threaten him where he doesn't want us to go, because that's what's most likely to get him to move outside, giving me a free inside release. We don't want to just take the inside release, because what does an outside leverage DB have inside? Usually has help. So let's threaten him to the outside like this wide receiver does, take the inside release, get skinny, or work to restack. So this wide receiver kind of makes the mistake that a lot of guys do. After this move, he goes kind of wide and then pushes up vertical. So that right there, when you go wide and you go this way, not vertical, that can give that DB an easier angle to recover when you're running a more vertical route. But ultimately, this wide receiver is faster than the DB, so he was able to actually get over the top and get this DB trailing him. But if this DB was faster, I don't think this route would have gone down the way it did because he went too wide. Make sure, fellas, when you have that inside breaking route versus outside shade press, we give a move, we're trying to go hip to hip with this DB. So I could either work to restack, or if this DB's playing it well, I could use something called that chicken wing method, which is essentially when a DB's running at your hip and you lean into him at the break point. You don't push and extend, you just lean with your body so you break this thing off. And also it gives you a bigger window before the safety. You don't just go run into the safety, because that's exactly what an outside shade press DB wants us to do. So let's go back. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. So a route away from the leverage, you attack that leverage, we make sure we get skinny, and we either lean or work to restack. So remember what I said. If we have inside shade press now, should be easy to understand. So remember, he's inside shade for a reason, trying to take away the inside, and we have to run a route away from the leverage. So think of it just like the last example. We want to attack his leverage and move him, get skinny, and I'm either working to stack or to do that chicken wing method. So let's play what he does. He attacks his leverage, takes the outside release. He has kind of a weaker break at the top, which is why the DB was on his hip. But again, we got him off his platform. We got skinny. We went hip to hip with him. That's the name of the game, fellas. When you understand outside shade or vice versa, inside shade, it makes the other side way, way easier. It's just flipped routes. It's just the opposite routes, and that makes life 10 times easier to be able to navigate. Great job by this wide receiver working that move and then getting space on that out. So now, last example here, inside shade press, and this wide receiver's got to run an inside breaking route. So remember, it's very, very similar to outside shade press. It's just the different kinds of routes. So we got inside leverage. What's he trying to protect? Inside. Doesn't want to give up the dig, the post, or the slant. But let's say I got to run a post, or let's say I got to run a dig. This route's a dig. So what do you think we do? We attack his leverage, and we work to stack. If we can't stack, we use a throw by with my right shoulder on his left shoulder or left hip. So let's watch it. He attacks him inside, takes the outside release. He's able to restack, gives a move, and now he's got plenty of space for the QB to throw him open over the middle of the field. He doesn't get forced way inside, doesn't get rerouted way inside, and he doesn't just take off and run, getting forced all the way to that sideline. Fellas, it's all about understanding leverage. The distance the DB is from you and what his leverage is will tell you everything about what you need to know with your route running and how you can structure your routes. Great textbook dig versus inside shade press. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you guys would like our 8-week wide receiver gym and on-field workout schedule that you can follow on a day-to-day basis, check out that very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.